Good morning, gang. Happy Tuesday morning. So yesterday will probably go down as the most insane day in American politics ever. That is until, of course, today happens. I swear I was in bizarro world yesterday watching a whole bunch of this stuff that was going on. Let's start with the hearings, if you will, for Kimberly Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service. I was dumbfounded watching this. This is the one that'll top everything. For the first time in my life, I actually believed something that AOC said. This was shocking. She made a comment along the lines of, was the building that the shooter was at in the perimeter? No, it wasn't, was the answer. And she came back with a very good point. She goes, the effective range of an AR-15 is 500 to 600 yards. It's the most common weapon owned in the United States. Why wouldn't 150 yards be in the perimeter? And I listened to her and I go, holy shit, there's actually brain cells in that head. It was a good question. I listened to Anna Paulina Luna, who said that she wants to bring up Kimberly Cheadle on perjury charges. I listened to Nancy Mace go scorched earth, foul language and all, to the point where other members were asking for decorum in Congress. And I sat there and listened for 3 hours, bits and pieces of it, to Kimberly Cheadle basically admit she was utterly incompetent. The biggest question I heard yesterday that we should be demanding answers for is how many bullet casings were on the roof when they found Crooks, the shooter. Because we've all heard the audio tapes. There were 9 shots, the 9th one being the sniper shot that took out Crooks. If there weren't 8 bullet casings up there, then there were 2 shooters, right? Okay. We've seen the video of the water tower, the grainy video up there with the shooter dressed in black up there. And the audio, the forensic audiology done to it, showing that there were definitively 2 separate sounds and rates of fire coming at the assassination attempt. And she refused to admit to how many bullet casings were there. Her answer was, ask the FBI. Like it was to so many questions yesterday. And then the question came, have you talked to the FBI? Of course. Did the FBI tell you how many bullet casings were up there? Yes. Then tell us. No. Okay, you've been subpoenaed. I'm waiting for contempt charges. I was utterly shocked that at that point somebody didn't call for contempt and have her put in handcuffs and arrested. Okay, this is exactly what would happen in a court. She's under oath to answer. Watching this was crazy insane. So as the day went along, we heard more things. People screaming for proof of life out of Joe Biden. I think Lauren Boebert called for it 3 times yesterday, demanding proof of life. Because the question we all have is, who's in charge? Who's running the country? Right? Okay. If Joe is completely incapacitated, the 25th Amendment comes into play and they need to swear in Kamala Harris as the president. Period. Regardless of how incompetent these people we're talking about, we still need a figurehead. We still need leadership. But no, they wouldn't do it. Until a trip was made by Kamala Harris to now Harris campaign headquarters in Delaware. And Joe miraculously was on the phone and called in. And if you listen to it, you could tell something was off. It was like it was scripted. Not that Biden could talk any other way. You know he was reading off a script somewhere. But like Kamala Harris knew it too. That, okay, when Joe says this, you're supposed to interject this to make it sound like it's a conversation. And then she slips up and says, Joe, I know you're still on the the call. The recording is what she got caught up in. We don't know if Joe Biden is even alive. Okay, there was numerous rumors flying around yesterday that Biden's already dead. So that got more questions. Then, of course, you had the arrival of Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. Okay, Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East, probably our greatest ally in the entire world. And neither Joe Biden, for obvious reasons at this point, or Kamala Harris wanted to go greet him, meet him at the airport, which is traditional when foreign dignitaries arrive, that the equivalent dignitary greets them, okay? No, Joe didn't want to go. Kamala didn't want to go. Why? Because they are so worried about Michigan and Minnesota with a Muslim vote. They don't want to be seen as supporting Israel. Any Jew that votes for Kamala Harris and whatever idiot she picks as her vice president is out of their mind. This is a party, the Democrats, who do not support Christianity and do not support Judaism. They are hell-bent on making this country a Muslim country, just like France is turning into, England is turning into, Germany is turning into. Are you seeing the parallels? Okay? We can look at recent elections in France, in England, in Germany to see what's happening. Okay? I mean, again, I'll bring up, there's places in London the cops won't go because it's too dangerous. We are all turning the Western world into 800 AD, and the Democrat Party wants to see that happen. They're more worried about carrying a couple of states than they are about the world. So then you get into all the stories on Kamala's VP pick, okay? And most of the predictions were right. That she's looking at Mark Kelly, she's looking at Josh Shapiro, she's looking at Gretchen Whitmer, she's looking at Roy Cooper. Andy Beshear has already come out and said they did not ask him for vetting documents. Gretchen Whitmer has already come out and said that she's not interested in the position. So that leaves Cooper, Kelly, Shapiro. I don't see Shapiro getting picked because, Shapiro's Jewish, okay? And going back to the last part there, it's not exactly like the Democrat Party is Jewish friendly at this point. So we have that. J.B. Pritzker is in there, okay? They just might have to widen the doors in the White House if he wants to be there. I mean, can you imagine a J.B. Pritzker, Chris Christie, what's his name? Jerry Nadler meeting? You know, better reinforce that concrete under the table. But the most interesting part is who's vetting the VP candidates for Kamala Harris. Get this. Eric Holder, you know, the man who's famous for Fast and Furious. the Obamaite till the day he dies, who's running the show? That tells you right there, this is Barack Obama's game. And Barack Obama has Nancy Pelosi in his pocket, has Chuck Schumer in his pocket. What happened all of a sudden over the weekend to turn this whole election chaos, to destroy democracy, to have a candidate on the top of the ticket who has barely ever been elected for any position that she's ever got? Okay. I mean, I think her greatest margin of victory for senator in California as a Democrat was 0.8%. While her other Democrats were winning by 8 and 10% in the popular vote. This is the same candidate who dropped out of the 2020 nomination picture before the first primary because she couldn't muster 2% of the vote in Iowa. Okay. But yeah, she's worthy of being on the top of the ticket. She's just another pawn. And the reason that she's the pawn is Nancy Pelosi came up to Joe Biden and said, we're either going to do this the easy way, you're going to drop out, or we're going to do it the hard way, we're going to 25th Amendment you. Okay. That was the threat that was issued by Nancy Pelosi. And Joe looked at his legacy and goes, I don't want to be known as being kicked out of the presidency. Though it still might happen, okay? Because there's a whole lot of people in Washington who are both sides saying he should resign the presidency. Now I'll give you a thought here. Right now, technically, Joe Biden's still the president. Kamala Harris is second in line as vice president. Mike Johnson's third in line as Speaker of the House. If I'm third in line as Speaker of the House, and I haven't heard from my president for 5 days now, I think it is, I'm demanding a face-to-face with the president. I'm third in line. If he's incapacitated, I'm second in line. I need to know. If something happens with Kamala Harris jetting all over the world, okay, accidents happen, not saying anything else, okay, but accidents happen, and Joe's incapacitated, Mike Johnson's president, he has a right to know how close he is. Proof of life. Yesterday was absolutely insane. Kamala Harris now has the delegates who've all promised to support her at the convention here in a few weeks to be the nominee. I have this strange feeling they're going to pull her too. You have to understand this. The Democratic Party was doing everything they could to figure out how not to make her the nominee. And then they realized by public polling, how they do everything, okay, is, they can't, no independent thought. It's like, oh, what does some pollster say? That's what we're going to listen to. And they realized it's like, oh, we have to push Kamala Harris because we might upset the black vote. And of course, there is all this comment out there that Kamala Harris is not black. She is black, okay? She's not African American, okay? Jamaican Indian is not African American. Fine, we have the first Jamaican Indian candidate. Congratulations. No big deal. But when it comes time to debate, and I'm kind of sorry I don't get to see a J.D. Vance Kamala Harris debate because that would have been fun. But a Donald Trump Kamala Harris debate ought to be a riot. Okay. Whatever you do, do not have a drinking game with how many times she cackles during a debate. You'd be drunk in 15 minutes. This is going to get wilder and wilder and wilder as we go. But like I said, when all of a sudden I go, That's a good point. And the words were coming out of AOC's mouth. That's when you know we truly live in bizarro world. Pinball out.